friendship. We know who we are. And I don't think I would be me without you being you. Your direction, expression, intention has taken us far.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening to Be the Wellness Podcast. Before we go on to the next episode, I want to take a second to invite you to visit our website, BeTheWellness.com, where you can check out our blog and find out more about our various offerings, including our annual paleo retreat in Costa Rica. To help spread the word about our remote coaching program, Unveil Your Wellness, we're also offering a free 15-minute introductory consultation to anyone who has questions about what we have to offer. Check us out at BeTheWellness.com. That's BeTheWellness.com. Thanks again for listening. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. Hello and welcome everybody to another fantastic episode of Be the Wellness Podcast. Today we are super stoked to bring you an extra special guest.
Yes, we are. And we've been threatening to bring more guests on the podcast. So it's happening. We're getting those wheels turning. And today we have not only a really special friend and lovely individual, but we have someone who's really inspiring a lot of folks out there, not only in the fitness and wellness world, but also in something that's very near and dear to her heart, and this is Miss Jenny LaBaw. She's bringing awareness to folks across the land about epilepsy, which is something that she suffered with for most of your life, right, Jenny?
Yeah, since I was 8. I was diagnosed when I was 8 years old. Yeah.
Wow. So welcome, Jenny LaBaw, and we're going to dive in a little bit to her story and what she's been doing most recently, like I said, to bring more conscientiousness and awareness to epilepsy, and also just to spread a whole lot of love in the world, because that's everything that you're doing is about the love these days.
That's right. That's what it's about in general, life, right?
Yes, definitely.
Sure. So just to toot Jenny's horn a little bit, she's a spectacular athlete and an incredible coach. And so I'm just going to tick off a couple of the things from her athletic resume, as it were. And so she took first place in the 2012 Reebok CrossFit Games NorCal Regional, which is in and of itself is incredible. The NorCal region for CrossFit swings a big pipe. It includes a ton of places. It's the birthplace of CrossFit. It includes all of Hawaii. It's a big, this is a big deal, right? And she smashed it 2012. 2011, and I think you can correct me if I'm wrong here, Jenny, but I think the fall strength challenge at level 10 was like the first time you ever CrossFitted, right? Or something like that?
Yep. That was the initial go.
Yeah, so Jenny shows up and she's like, I'm going to give this thing a shot, and crushes everyone for a first place finish by like a super long shot.
Yeah, she's an incredible athlete. I remember, we had Katie Cordozo in here a couple of months ago, and I think we were actually recounting our go at CrossFit and being in the regionals and how we thought we were such great athletes until Jenny showed up. We're like,
you guys are great athletes.
It's just a next level thing.
It's a next level thing. Yeah. And we totally think it's awesome. It was just funny because we're like, yeah, we're going to give this whole CrossFit thing a go. And then, someone like Jenny shows up and we're like, no, actually, you should give this a go.
I feel like if anyone here is going to do this, it's going to be you.
Yeah. And you did. And you've done amazing at it.
Yeah, totally. So you had a six.
It's luck. It's all luck.
Yeah.
Sure. Totally. Yeah.
Luck and muscle
genetics.
mass.
And just genetics, pure genetics.
Right.
But so not just the regionals, but you took sixth place in the 2011 games, right? So your first ever whack at CrossFit, you smoked this thing at level 10. You go on to the NorCal regionals, and then on to the games and take sixth place, which is phenomenal. So
thank you.
Yeah.
It was, I think, a little bit different ball game then than it is now, but it was still quite the ride.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. It was a different ball game when we were doing it, and then you stepped into, this other ball game, and now I'm not even sure what it is. Like
it's the World Series.
It's not even a ball game anymore. Yeah.
No, it's not.
It's not even baseball.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things, just like anything, it's always changing and evolving. And it's cool that you were able to jump in and really go for that ride and kind of use some of that energy and that momentum to figure out what's really important to you, right? I mean, it seems like that's kind of what you've got from it, and it's helped you to fuel like what your real passions are.
Absolutely. I mean, I think I wouldn't trade for the world the experiences that I had in 2011 and 2012. And 2013, I got injured, broke my foot before the Open, so I didn't get to compete. In 2014, I went to regionals and tried to give it another go. And I have a really bad neck injury that had been fighting for a couple years, and it flared up. And finally, I had to wrap my brain around the fact that my mind and my body are not quite cooperating. So I had to find a different route, and it's hard to wrap your head around the fact that your body isn't going to let you do what your mind wants it to do. Right. When you know that you have the capability. But it took me a while, and I think that CrossFit has given me the amazing ability to have a platform to now do what I just did this last month and reach out to people in a way that I never would have been able to if I hadn't have had those few years of glory with CrossFit,
Absolutely. So with that said, maybe you can give us a little bit of background on obviously what you did this past month, but maybe you can start kind of, spin back the wheel a little bit and tell us about your childhood and sort of, the process of how you came to understand epilepsy, the things that you've done to help treat it or, to offset it. I know obviously the paleo diet has been had a significant impact on your health overall. And maybe you can just kind of walk us through the steps of how that whole thing is unfolded.
Yeah, for sure. Please feel free to jump in at any point because it could go on forever. But yeah. When I was 8, I was diagnosed with epilepsy. I lived a super normal life. Grew up in small town Colorado, Rifle, Colorado, a little redneck hick town, which I absolutely love and can't wait to move back there someday. But when I was diagnosed when I was 8 years old, I was on the playground and I was just spinning around the bars, just like little girls do at recess. And I fell off the bar and hit my face in the gravel. And I was super embarrassed. So I jumped back up and I started spinning again like nothing had happened. And eventually it started happening more often when I was out at recess. And I went home and I said, "Hey, Mom, this is what's going on." And she said, "Oh my goodness." She's like, let's take you to the doctor. And what was happening, the reason I was falling off is that my right arm, I have a constant tingling sensation in my right arm. It's been there since I was 8 years old when I was diagnosed. And for when I have a seizure, I lose ability to really use that arm for like 30 seconds to a minute. So when I was face planting in the gravel, it was because my right arm stopped working and I couldn't hold on to the bar. So once we got all the testing and the MRIs and all the EEGs and everything that you go through to figure out what's going on with your brain, they ended up diagnosing me with what's called simple partial gelastic seizures. So typically when people think of seizures, they think of grand mal or what's now called tonic-clonic, and that's where you fall to the ground and shake and people foam at the mouth. Just the typical kind of scary thing, right? That people are used to seeing. And there's so many forms of epilepsy, which I'm still this last month during my run have been in contact with so many people, and it's quite a interesting disorder that it's one disorder titled epilepsy, but there are so many things within it, like cancer, right? I mean, you have cancer, but then you have breast cancer and prostate, and it just goes on and on and on. So yeah, there's just different ways that it affects people. So when I was 8, I was diagnosed, and I spent the next 6 years of my life trying to find a medication that would work to control my seizures. And that's, in my experience, was one of the hardest parts, right? I think that from what I'm hearing from other people's testimonials, it's the same. The anti-seizure medication is brutal. It's hard to find one that works, but then the side effects that come along with the one that may be the one for you is pretty rough. I mean, not to get too in depth with side effects, but I remember as a little girl, I'd come home from school. I can't remember which medication it was that I was on, but I would have these retching attacks. So like you just gagging and gagging and gagging, and for no reason. It's just a side effect. And my brother would be there by my side, just rubbing my back. And that's one thing. I had double vision with one of the medications. So I was playing softball and I'd go try to hit, like deciding which ball to swing at.
It's like extra challenging.
No wonder you're such an excellent athlete.
Yeah.
I really had to work on my eye-hand coordination.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's just the fighting for 6 years trying to find a medication was challenging, and having seizures the entire time within it. And then when I was 14, we were really struggling to find anything. So the doctors took me off all medication and put me in the hospital in Denver, in Swedish Medical Center. And I spent 2 weeks in the hospital hooked up to electrodes. They had wires coming out of my hair. I couldn't shower. It was not the prettiest time of my life, probably.
Right.
Some really interesting pictures from that, but
you're not an Us Weekly who are at best.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. They actually made a Halloween costume out of me. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
But they took me off medication for 2 weeks trying to trigger a seizure. And the way they do that, they put you in all sorts of different known situations. So flashing lights and loud noises and intense exercise and things that would trigger lack of sleep. So you try to stay up for days at a time. And I wasn't having a seizure, which unfortunately usually I'm having at home, and then I come into the hospital and my body won't do it. So the final straw was I always had somebody by my side at all times during this. And there was one afternoon that they took me down to the radiology room, and they said, when you feel a seizure coming on, just get up out of the chair, push this button, and we're going to send this dye through your IV that's going to now go to where the seizure is coming from in your brain. Right. So I said, okay. So I felt a seizure coming on in my arm, that tingling sensation I was talking about. I got up, and the next thing I remember is I woke up in the x-ray room and my face hurt so bad, and I was screaming for my brother. I really wanted my brother there, and I had no idea what happened, and I had a tonic-clonic seizure. That's the kind where you fall and shake. So what we ended up discovering is that I actually have the grand mal, the big seizures, but the medication that I had been on had controlled it to that smaller, simple partial seizure in my arm. So it was a successful trip to the hospital, and then they put me on the oldest medication with seizures, and that was Dilantin. And I was on that from when I was 14 until 31, and I was pretty stable. I mean, I'd have a seizure here and there, but nothing like I was when I was younger. And when I was 31, Marcus, my boyfriend, who is how I met you guys, he and I talked, eventually we're going to want to have a family. And one of the side effects with Dilantin, the medication I was on, is that you can't carry a fetus. So I was at this break in my CrossFit competition stuff, and so it was kind of pretty much the perfect time to switch medications. And I switched to a newer medication called Keppra, and it was horrible. The titration phase was awful. Actually, Katie and Glenn Cordoza were at the lake house when I was titrating, and they could probably attest to this. I was a zombie. The medication side effects of Keppra is it knocks you out. I mean, I'd fall asleep on the concrete.
Wow.
I'd go to work, and Marcus would be like, "Where are you?" And he found me sleeping on the concrete. Just things that really knocked you out. But the good news is that was 2 years ago, and I've been seizure free for 2 years. So.
Wow.
Nice.
I do remember them. Yeah, I remember them talking about that because they were, I think, like you said, they were at the lake house with you guys and mentioned that you were going through that titration process.
Yeah.
And that it was pretty hardcore. So really quick, do you know how you got epilepsy? Because I know there's a couple of different, like some is genetic and some, I want to say, did you have meningitis or something as a baby?
Look at you and your homework.
I'm pulling facts out here.
I'm really, really, really lucky that I guess I could use the word lucky that I have a possible reason. I mean, they're never going to really know, but yeah, when I was, I think 6 months old, I had meningitis, and I have a scar on my brain as a result of that. So that's where they think that it comes from, and that's what they found out that day that I pumped the dye through my IV.
Okay. And so is that a cause for most people who have epilepsy, or is there different onsets or causes? There's a ton of different onsets and causes, and the really hard, sad part is that the majority of people will never know the cause. It's brain trauma. If there's brain trauma, like if you've had a tumor on your brain or you were in a bad accident, sometimes that's where it comes from.
I actually had a really interesting conversation, which you guys are the first people I'm telling about this, but I had an interesting conversation with a geneticist from Harvard. He contacted me right after my run, and I got on a Skype call with them late last week, a geneticist and also a pediatric epileptologist, so a guy that specializes in childhood epilepsy. Mm-hmm. And they have been doing some cutting edge research in the last 2 years about genetic mutation and epilepsy causation, I guess. I don't know if that's the word, but they are finding a lot of gene mutations that show that you're going to have this certain type of epilepsy, which is, I'm sure that most people don't know this. It is huge. I mean, like beyond my brain, but it is so amazing, the possibilities of finding a way to treat specific types of epilepsy, but also give people a community to go and be a part of, because it's such a broad spectrum of severity and the way it affects, I don't know if severity is the right word, but the way that it affects different people, that it's cool to have people like, these people are going through the exact same stuff that you're going through. And this is why, this is the genetic mutation. So there's a lot of really cool research and awesome hope for people that have epilepsy right now.
So that means that essentially they can screen for this gene and sort of know your predisposition as a child for, perhaps, like for you, for instance, you think it's from meningitis, but you could potentially, if there is a gene involved, you could pass that along to your offspring, right? So you can check for that or scan for that and decide maybe how to monitor as the child's growing up, or what's the application? I mean,
I don't know, but I think, yes, I think that's the idea. It was just a brief conversation with these guys, but I think that's the direction they're going. And
that's amazing.
And then targeted therapies, probably.
And targeted therapies. Yeah, that's the big thing, is there's a lot of people, it's just guess and check. Like I said, I spent 6 years of my life trying to figure out, just pumping chemicals and drugs through my body, right? Trying to figure out what's going to work. I've been drugged out my whole life. I mean, I don't know what normal feels like. And that's pretty typical for, I don't want to just say epilepsy, but neurological medication in general. It's known for the way it just knocks you out,
Yeah.
So,
It's tweaking something.
Yeah. Do you think that this is potentially why exercise became so important to you? Do you think that it helped you feel in a way? Like, it helped your endorphins kick in and maybe kind of get you out of that fog that maybe existed from the medications?
Yes, 110%. I mean, I'm so lucky. I've been raised from a family that never let me once think that there was something different or wrong or something that I couldn't do anything. They're like, you can do whatever you want, despite what the doctors say. Like, they say, you're not going to drive, you're not going to be able to play sports, you're not going to do this stuff. And my parents and brother are awesome. They're like, you're going to be fine, And so, So I've always been a really active individual pre-epilepsy even, but I would definitely think that, I mean, when I feel the sensation in my arm intensifying, so like I know that a seizure might happen, I'm not stupid. I'm not going to go out for a run by myself where I could have a seizure and get hurt. But yeah, I'll go move, and it calms it down, and it brings maybe my brain back to center a little bit,
Yeah, that's super interesting. So what's I know that you've, with the paleo diet, you've been sort of across the board, from, needing to feed your glycolytic pathways during the CrossFit stuff to a little bit more ketogenic approach when you were trying to control some of the epilepsy. Mm-hmm. What were your successes with that, or your experiences with that component?
I think I probably didn't approach the ketogenic diet quite the way I should have. I don't think I did it exactly so intelligently. I went from kind of one extreme to the next. So a potential, depending on what I do for myself athletically here in the future, I may try to work more towards that ketogenic. There's a lot of science with ketogenic diet and epilepsy control.
Right.
So I may go that direction, but I know for me, it's about lifestyle. And I right now have control of my seizures, and I love to run. I love to mountain bike. I love to hike mountains. I love to do the stuff that I know that my body personally feels better with a little bit higher carb. So that's a battle I think I'm going to fight until the day that I decide I'm going to stop doing the crazy stuff I do,
Right. Right. Yeah. Because your experience with it, and I think this is similar for a lot of people, but you I mean, that we're told, and people have the experience of being able to do relatively low level cardiovascular work in ketosis, and there's not really any problems with it, right? And some people even kind of go the route of it. Maybe it's a better way to go, but that certainly hasn't been my experience. I know maybe it's just that my gas tank's not big enough, and so I just run out, and then the sugar becomes pretty important for me, after a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm the same way, Adam. Like I've tried being super, super low carb. I don't even know if it was quite ketogenic, super low carb. And I'm hiking up to 11,000 feet on my skis. And all of a sudden I'm like, I'm bonking so hard right now and I can't move. I need to sit down or I'm going to pass out. Like that's
right.
I'm a person that, and I'm sure there's going to be people out there that don't agree with me, but I feel like my body needs some sugar to do the stuff that I love to do.
Yeah. Well, I think that's something that we're finding more and more, it's sort of like sleep, it's like you think you're supposed to get up early and work hard all day long and they go to bed, and sleep is just this, inconvenience in the middle there, and as soon as you realize that actually sleep is probably like the number one thing, then all of a sudden things get a little bit better. And I think we've kind of been in this place with the carbohydrate craze or the low carbohydrate craze for a while, that people have a phobia of it. And then once they realize that maybe the phobia is unfounded or unfounded for them, then all of a sudden this world of opportunity opens back up, and you're like, oh, look at that. A sweet potato fixes a lot.
Well, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Have you guys, I haven't done my homework very well, but have you guys read about what John and Sarah every day, I guess it's JASA method now, what they're doing with the alt shift?
No.
Oh my gosh. So I don't know much about it, so I shouldn't have brought it up. But,
but it's super cool.
It sounds super cool. So yeah, they're, Jason Sieb, the guy that Sarah works with, he's developed this method called alt shift, and he's just developed a book, but I hope I get these numbers right. I think it's 5 days of ketosis, 2 days of higher carb. So the idea is that you're kind of keeping that body in shock. I mean, we see it time and time again, people that go paleo and they see all these results and they feel phenomenal, and 2 years later things start falling apart.
Right.
So I guess that's true kind of with any, I don't want to use the word diet, but change, when your body starts to adapt. So I'm curious to learn more about it, because I think that may be a direction that I can go for epilepsy control, but also for still being able to perform. Yeah,
maintaining that athleticism. Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense. I mean, I'm going to definitely dive into that and figure out what exactly it is that they're doing. But that sort of carb cycling, like cyclic ketogenic or cyclic low carb thing is certainly where I've had the best success.
Yeah.
Well, and I could see, especially when you have, when you're using it as a treatment protocol like you are, that's like the best of both worlds, because you're getting that really good, health benefit. But like you said, you're still able to maintain your lifestyle, which, let's face it, your lifestyle is probably the thing that keeps you healthiest, because you enjoy it, you love it, it makes you happy, and there's a whole mind over matter component here.
Yeah, exactly. I agree 100%. So I would not be happy if I couldn't go do the things I do, Vanessa.
Yes.
I think Vanessa sort of is in the same camp.
Yep, me too. You do not want to see Grumpy Monster come out. It's not good. So when you were first doing CrossFit, did you try to go super low carb, or did you always know that some refeeding or some carb replenishment was important for you?
Well, I was. I mean, when I first started, so I kind of got into this world with you guys at NorCal Strength and Conditioning. And when I first got there, obviously Rob is the paleo guru. And so paleo was what you did. Like if you didn't do it, you're not in this gym. And so I'm like, okay, all right, I'll do it. And then it worked. Like, I was lean, I felt strong. And then I started getting into competitive CrossFit, and I talked to Rob. I was like, dude, I don't feel good. He's like, you need to be getting 200 to 300 grams of carbs. That's the carbs a day. That's why you don't feel good. I was like,
thank God.
I'm getting maybe 100 on a good day. So
yeah.
So there was definitely a shift of, you got to force some sweet potato. And that's one thing that people say, you never can PR on paleo. I'm like, well, you just don't know how to do it right. Like you kind of have to force feed a little bit, and you absolutely can. But the response, and you guys know this, the way that your body feels on on good sugar versus bad sugar is completely different. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we like to joke about that because when we were, competing in the games years before you came on the set, we were all super low carb. It's amazing that we were as successful as we were. Yeah.
Well, recipe for disaster.
It
really is. And, we see this all the time, especially with coaching and having folks in the app, that everyone is carb phobic and they start thinking like, whoever has the least carbs wins. And that's really like the mindset that everybody shifted. And now the pendulum's swinging back and it's like, no, carbs aren't the enemy. It's like you said, it's the quality of them and the timing and how you can make the most sense of where you place them in your diet. Right. And fuel your life and your performance, Yeah.
It's been really interesting. I mean, I'm also a coach, you guys know, a strength and conditioning coach. So to kind of play with my clients on that as well, people that are not, I would not call them athletes by all means, I think they're just active people who want to be healthy, or semi-active people that want to be healthy, and their diet. I mean, let's face it, it's hard. It's really hard, especially when I think you have kids and you have a busy career, to always be super strict with your food. And so I found a lot of my clients were saying, I'm craving sugar all the time. I'm like, well, okay, let's get you sugar, but we're going to have some white potatoes every night. And all of a sudden they start losing weight like crazy because now they're not craving the Snickers bars and the crap. So
and it helps their sleep,
and it helps their sleep. Right.
Exactly.
And energy levels come up. I mean,
happiness factors up, and you're not binging on Reese's Pieces peanut butter cups because you just can't handle the cravings.
And it's one of the places that we're really trying to pick people up in our program is to, because we do recognize that there's certainly a therapeutic benefit, and a therapeutic benefit to the low carb sort of introduction into the whole paleo world. But at some point, there's like the diminishing return,
Yeah.
And it's a little bit different for everybody. And so what we're really trying to do is kind of catch people as soon as they start to drop, so that they don't end up with this, the sad factor where they're like, well, low carb got me to here and now it's not working anymore. So I'm going to go even lower. And now I need to, I'm not eating any carbohydrates. So what's next? Let's see, I can probably take some protein out of my diet,
Right.
And we're just trying to catch these people and try to bring them back up where it's appropriate. It's always interesting to hear people's personal experience with it because it's so individual.
Yeah, it totally is. And there's, we haven't even talked about the run yet, but we can, but during the run, that was one thing I battled with, I think it's a mental thing. I mean, I had a way that I've eaten and I wasn't necessarily, I've never been I wouldn't ever call myself an endurance athlete. I mean, my legs are tree trunks. So but I lost 4 inches on each thigh, you guys.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure you did. Yeah. I mean, so this is actually, let's go ahead and talk about what you've been doing for the last month, because we keep alluding to it. But if you can just give us a synopsis of what you've been up to, that would be great.
Yeah. So really, really brief story is, in March, I watched a documentary with Marcus, the 30 for 30 film called Into the Wind. And it was about a Canadian man named Terry Fox, who was diagnosed with osteosarcoma when he was, in his early 20s. And he had to have his leg amputated. And so instead of feeling sorry for himself and, I'm choking.
That's all right.
It's okay. It happens all the time.
I'm choked up about this anyways. But, he decided he was going to run across Canada from east to west to raise awareness for cancer and help to raise funds for cancer research. So Marcus and I are sitting on the couch, and when you've been with somebody for 8.5 years, you just look at each other and you know what they're thinking. And we both were like, all right.
Looks like we're...
So this is going to happen. so then we got back to regular life, and 2 or 3 months go by, and we're driving to Colorado I guess it was longer than that. We were driving to Colorado in late June and to see my family, and we're driving through Southern California and Southern Colorado and the San Juans and through the Animas Canyon. And I look at him and I just have tears pouring down my face, and he goes, "What's wrong?" And I'm like, "Nothing, but I'm going to run across Colorado for epilepsy awareness." And he just looks at me like that is a normal thing to say. And he goes,
"Okay." Of course you are.
Okay. All right. So, so I spent 2 weeks with my family, and I got back to California, and I started calling potential sponsors and lining up the route. And I worked my butt off for 2.5 months to develop a plan to make this actually happen. I worked with a guy named Brian McKenzie who started CrossFit Endurance. He programmed for me, so I didn't have to think about that aspect, which was so generous of him. And the programming was phenomenal. The most I ran was 15 miles, I think 2 times throughout the entire 2.5 months.
Wow.
So that, I want to sort of highlight that, because that is incredible. Right.
Well, yeah, he did it. He's so great. It was interval based stuff. Like it was efforts, I'd go and do 3 by 5K and I'd do some 800 repeats. And, yes, I went for long runs, but it was never just go beat the shit out of your body,
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. Sorry, I interrupted you, Adam. Did you want to?
Oh, no, I was just saying that's awesome.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
Check that one. Yeah. So he did a great job, and that was the one component that I didn't have to think about when I had so much other planning to do. And, so in 2.5 months of planning, all of a sudden I found myself on the New Mexico border of Colorado, and we started running, and I ran 500 miles this last month across up and over the Colorado Rockies. I think it was, I need to get the numbers totally right, but I think it was around 37,000 feet elevation gain and 28,000 feet elevation drop. So a lot of up and down. But
and you journaled and published like daily. Was it daily updates about?
Like
it was daily updates, right?
I have my last day to write. Still, I'm hopefully going to do that this afternoon, and I will be done with the third. It was 31 days long. I ran 27 of those 31 days, so I took 4 days off for some PR days and 1 rest day, and it was. There are no words. To explain.
Help me with the math on that. So 27 days, 500 and something miles. That should be easy for me to figure out. But how many miles were you running a day?
Well, it varied. So I'd never done anything like this, right? So I'm like, 500 miles. How do you break this up? So when I got on Google Earth or Google Maps, I was trying to make the stops logical as far as being able to promote as well. So to get the goal was for epilepsy awareness, right? So to be able to if it was my choice, I would have been on trails in the backcountry and not seen a soul, but that would have been really bad for awareness. So,
so apparently there's a woman running across the forest. No one has seen her.
I hope she's not been attacked by a bear. It was, so I kind of made the towns determine my distance within reason, but it averaged out, I would say by the end, it averaged out to be about maybe 18 or 19 miles a day. But my longest day was 27 miles and my shortest day was 6 miles because I got myself ahead the day before. So,
wow. So you ran a marathon one day.
Yeah.
I ran a lot of marathons. Yeah.
Yeah.
So was there ever a point where you felt like, I just can't do this? Or did you always feel pretty solid moving forward?
No. Day 3. I mean, I didn't know what to. The first 2 days were marathons. So.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I didn't know what to expect. And your body, I guess I'm really lucky. People say I have a third lung. So my lungs were never an issue. But I read when I was reading about ultra running, they're like, your feet are going to make or break you. So I didn't know what that meant until I knew what that meant. And on day 3, I got blisters I started getting a really bad blister on my second toe on my left foot to the point where I'm like, man, like it's really hot in there, but I guess I just have to finish this. So I get finished that day. It's 26 miles and I get to the campground where we're staying and I take my shoe off and I see a huge blister underneath my left toe. I was like, oh great. I think maybe that was the third day. I lied. It was the third day. And, I'm like, this is gonna be painful. So I drained it. And then I talked to a friend that's a physical therapist and I learned how to tape and kind of take care of my feet as much as possible. But from that third day until the day I crossed the finish line, each step was pretty agonizing. And it was really hard to keep going. But when you get into like half mile in, your feet go numb enough that the pain kind of goes. It sounds so horrific to say. It goes numb enough that you're not going to do any more damage. Like that's not going to happen. I'm not going to hurt myself. It's just my toenails are going to fall off and the skin's going to be calloused and that's what it's going to be. So, I don't know. I kind of went off on a tangent, but yeah,
no, that's perfect.
It's a good tangent though, because I can only imagine, and like you said, you do have a third lung, and I think that's something you've always been known for. Is just your lung capacity is incredible. So it's interesting that it would be whittled down. The true complexity of the scenario would be whittled down to your feet. You know, it's like
it all rests on the toenails.
Yeah, exactly. There wasn't a lot of toenail left, so that was a hard thing to do. But I think the whole foot component was, yes, it was physical. Yes, that pain was definitely there and I felt it, but it was a mental game the entire time. It was, some days I looked at my watch and I was like, I'm not going to look at my watch again until I've gone a half mile. Right. Mm-hmm. And I looked down and it's like 0.03 miles. I'm like, oh no, that wasn't very far.
That's not very far at all.
And some days I'd look and I'd be 2 miles in. So, the entire time was a mental battle of don't focus on your feet, focus on who you're running for that day, focus on the amazing country that you're running through, focus on finding you, that was not to get too deep, but there was 31 days of being in your head will make you truly find out who you are and what you want, or where I'm at right now, find out what I don't want, find out in my life, like what is right in my life and what is wrong in my life, and where do I want to go and what is my why? And those all became really clear as I was running,
Yeah, I would think that more than anything, it's probably one of the most intense spiritual journeys you've probably ever had.
Yes, 100%, and that's why I say there are no words, because there's no way to express. You've got to just, even Marcus was with me the entire time. Our good friend Tori Zellick, who's also a Chico native, she's a massage therapist, and she came along with me and was there every single day to work on my legs. Without her, who knows what kind of shape I would have been in,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And she's amazing.
She's amazing.
Yeah.
She's amazing. And then her dad, Vaughn, was with us as well. So there was a core 4 of us with the 2 dogs that were there all the time, and then people would come in and out. But I'm really excited now that it's over to talk to them and say, hey, what did you think of this? Not like each day, what did you think? And not like, what did you think when you saw me? But how did this change you? Because my dad was there for like 4 or 5 days, and he's been a hardworking carpenter his entire life. And he looked at me and he said, Jenny, he's like, you've inspired, and this is going to make me cry.
It's already making me cry.
He's like, you've inspired me to look. He's like, what have I been doing my whole life to make a difference? What am I doing to inspire people? And he said, you've inspired me to try to find that, which is, coming from a 60-year-old man, that's pretty cool, Oh,
that's absolutely. And isn't it funny that I think this happens for many of us, or at least I hope it does. In our 20s, we're very much driven for ourselves. Mm-hmm. We want to go and tackle the world, and we want to do it for ourselves, which is, it's just natural. It's it's in our DNA or our consciousness or whatever. We want to go figure out who we are. And then it seems like as we shift into our 30s, mid-30s, it's like, okay, now what can I do for everyone else? Like I've been so blessed. I'm so fortunate. I have so much. How can I spread that vibration out? And that's what's so beautiful about watching you, is that you have so many gifts and such a big heart. And now you're really trying to turn it outward and say, how can I make a difference in other people's lives? And it's really beautiful.
Thank you. And I set out right on September 19th to spread the word about epilepsy. Like I want people to know about what this disease is, because it's so undereducated and underfunded and everything about it. 1 in 26 people have epilepsy. So someone, even if you don't know somebody, you someone that has epilepsy or will have it.
Wow.
1 in 26.
Yeah,
I have no idea.
Yeah, 1 in 26 people. It's will be diagnosed at some point in their life, which is crazy. So if that's more, I don't know all the numbers, but it's way more than muscular dystrophy. It's way more than an MS, and those are all. I think epilepsy gets $2 per person national funding,
wow.
And MS gets $1,000 per person, and muscular dystrophy I think it's $100 per person. So it's like just way skewed. The other, it's amazing to me. So my goal, sorry to go off on a tangent again, but my goal in 2000, or when I started on the September 19th was to change that, and start to tell people. And then all of a sudden I realized, wow, I'm giving people that have epilepsy this strength to talk about it that they have had inside of them, but they didn't know until somebody else started doing it, And so now there's this whole other meeting. And then all of a sudden I have these people that are stopping me on the side of the road while I'm running and saying, thank you so much for what you're doing. You're inspiring me to go out and be active. And I'm like, whoa, like this is a completely different meaning. And then all of a sudden there are these people that come and they stop me on these roads and they say, my daughter's going to school for cancer research because my wife died of cancer last year. Thank you for being an inspiration about overcoming adversity. And so there's just all these meanings that just came trickling in throughout the entire time. And I think what started out as one purpose and one mission ended up being, I don't want to say completely different, but transforming into a much bigger and more impactful thing than I ever could have imagined, you know?
Yeah, because people find their own individual cause for this heroic effort that you're doing. Exactly. I think it's super interesting.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. They connect because it really is just about finding someone that inspires you, that there's hope, right? Because we all have our individual conquests and, trials and tribulations. And it's like just to see someone out there that's taking action and saying, okay, no matter what's going on, you can take steps towards making a difference. And that's what I think everyone can connect with that. It's such a human thing.
Yeah. And Vanessa, I have to tell you, I mean, I listened to my playlist about 90,000 times throughout the month, and you just kept popping up, and you just kept giving me inspiration. So thank you.
Aw, thanks, sweetie. That's awesome. I love it.
But I mean, that's the same thing, you know? I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but your goal is to give people hope and inspiration through your music. And you did that for me, you know, like it's this, life is this full circle, and it's a pretty awesome thing.
It is. And it's really, you see it in all aspects. You see it in your personal relationships. We see it in the wellness picture itself. It's like everything is a give and take. You've got to it's not one thing, one solution. It's all about just keeping that circle going, constantly giving and receiving, whether it's through, like what you're doing, a very specific goal, or it's literally just every day in your own wellness picture. You have to find that flow.
Right. That's life again.
That's life. Yeah. That's so what's next for you? You finished the 500 miles just a few days ago, right? Or is it last week?
It was a week ago Monday, so a week and a half. Wow, already a week and a half ago, yeah.
Isn't that crazy how it's like the most important thing that has happened in your life, and then it's like, it's over.
No, that was a week ago.
Oh my gosh, I crossed the finish line, you guys, and all I wanted to do was turn around and run back to New Mexico. It was crazy.
Wow.
So what's next? I don't know. I'm, first of all, next November is Epilepsy Awareness Month, which is perfect timing for me to continue my mission of getting awareness out that way, but I think through this, I've found that I think I want to maybe start doing some like public speaking and motivational speaking on overcoming adversity. I think that's something I'm terrified to talk. And luckily, you guys, I can't see you right now, so I'm okay. But I'm terrified to talk in front of people. So that I think is a personal mission that I want to do. But I don't know if I should vocalize this, but there's serious thought of doing a nationwide run.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So like from coast to coast.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I don't know. I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't know if it's just riding the high that I'm on right now, but,
see what happens with your toenails.
See what happens. If they don't grow back, then I guess that's more of a reason to go.
Yeah. Like, I feel like you should probably just get on that now while they're still gone.
But it's really hard, and I totally love what I do for a living. I've been a strength and conditioning coach for 12 years, and I absolutely love it. I adore my clients, but it's really hard to think about going back to what was real life after you've had such an impactful thing happen. I'm trying to wrap. I think I'll know more in the next month as to what I'm going to do, but I just take it one day at a time right now and enjoy the whole process,
Yeah, absolutely. I think that everyone has that moment in their life where they realize, okay, this is a fork in the road, and I have to change direction, or at least, like you said, kind of ride the new vibration that exists within you. Yeah. And that's really cool. And I think that, obviously we love you and we support you, and we're really proud of you, not just for all of your physical endeavors, but for your heart. You're just such a beautiful soul. And I remember the day Marcus Brown rolled into town with you, and there's this bright, shiny blonde head girl sitting at I think you were at
our house.
Oh, no, I met you, Vanessa, at Pluto's. I was talking
Pluto's.
about this. Do you remember that day?
Yes, absolutely.
I was not bright and shiny. I had gone for a run and we went and jumped in 1 mile. So I was drenched in all of my running clothes. And you come up, this adorable little thing on your green bike with little Penelope and your bike and your green sunglasses. And I was like, oh man, I feel like a ragged doll right now.
Oh, that's hilarious. Because in my mind, I remember just thinking you were like shiny. You'd just gone for a run. You were like vibrating super like powerfully. And so it's funny, our own perceptions of ourselves. But I just remember thinking, oh yeah, that's a special one.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So where can people find out more about what you have going on, your coaching, just follow the rest of your journey? LaBawLife.com, LABAW life.com is my website, which I will spend more time updating and getting up to speed here in the next month or so. That's kind of where everything is going to hopefully be flowing through. I'm going to try to blog a lot the next month on epilepsy awareness, so that'll be big, but also keep people posted on what is next. Yeah,
totally. So with your clients, because I know when you first came on the set, you had one of the first remote coaching programs that I had ever really seen be successful. And so are you still doing that, or are most of your clients actual in-person physical clients these days?
Most of them are in person, but that's a route. I mean, I still do my online training. I've done that. I mean, most of my people are water skiers because of Marcus's world, but I have a couple CrossFitters, and I think that I love working with, I don't want to use the word average, but the average Joe, people that just want to be healthier and maybe might be a weekend warrior. And that's something that I definitely want to pursue, because a goal of ours is to have a more remote life where we can live in Colorado and live in California and be able to do that and still do what I love, which is to help people. So, so I just went off on a tangent, but I do still do that. And the best way to, if people are interested, is just to contact me via email at jenny@jennylabaw.com.
Awesome. And then you're at Jen LaBaw with one N on Twitter and Instagram.
Yes.
Which your Instagram, I highly recommend following your Instagram and then Marcus's as well. The pictures, the stuff that come through there is just incredible. What is he's at MB Brown or
Marcus _Brown.
There you go.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous. Follow him. The guy is so talented.
Well, and he's not only an amazing athlete, he's also a professional water skier. I don't know if he still calls himself a professional water skier. Does he still compete professionally?
He doesn't. He kind of blew his back out 3 years ago, but his goal is to get back into it at some capacity. So I still call him that. I still think he is.
Yeah. Well, I guess once you are, you kind of always are, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. But
he's better than I'll ever dream about. So
yeah. And he's not only an amazing skier and athlete, but he's also an amazing filmmaker. So he was the one documenting this process and making short movies, and his filmmaking skills are amazing. So it's cool to see everything really put together in such a beautiful package because of the skill set you both possess.
Yeah, I'm a lucky girl. He's documented it, and he's going to make an actual documentary about it, which I can't wait for. But I'm going to have to, because it's going to take a while. Right. But he's captured the entire experience from a viewpoint that none of us saw. I mean, he's got the drone that we see aerial footage of myself, a little ant on this trail of this vast span of mountains. I mean, it's going to be a pretty epic representation of what happened.
Yeah, that's amazing. And you two, I just want to say really quick, the sweetness that exists between you two is always just palpable. Whenever I see footage of you two or pictures of you, it's like literally the love is beaming off the page. So I just, I love that, because it's really important for people to see really healthy relationships and good partnerships. And it's just, we need to see more of that. And so it's also really beautiful you guys have that example out there for everyone to enjoy.
Thank you. Likewise to you guys. We just saw the picture of you guys when it looks like there was a fan blowing on Adam's hair.
We just walk around with one.
I just have a fan.
Instead of a selfie stick, it's a selfie fan.
No, we were in Costa Rica, I think, and it was windy. Yeah.
Marcus goes, "What size fan do they have on there?"
It's a big ass fan.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much
awesome
for spending some time with us. Just really quick before we take off today, I just wanted to ask you one question, and that's if someone comes to you and they want to make changes in your life, what's the 3 things that you recommend to inspire people to start moving in a new direction?
Oh man, God,
I know. I should have prepped you for this, but I think it's cool to share kind of like the things that are most important to you when you're looking at your wellness or your health or even just inspiration. Like, what are the things that have made a difference for you, whether it's, your diet or mindfulness or whatever it is. What are the 3 things that you kind of tell people? These are the things that are important to get you going on a different road.
However silly this might sound, being grounded, I think, is really important. And by that, I mean actually being grounded. Like, go lay in the grass or go lay in the dirt or go lay somewhere and feel the ground underneath you, and it'll help ground you as a person. And with that, the second thing is that you end up finding in your heart what truly makes you happy, and then following that no matter what it is, because what you feel in your heart is not wrong. What you feel in your heart is absolutely 100% right.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you nailed that.
Yeah.
That's not 3 things.
You
that's
planned
like
for this.
But I think that talking about me growing spiritually, like, that's been a big thing that I have found during this whole process. I would finish a run when I'm broken and I cannot move anymore, and I would sit on the ground or I would kneel on the ground, and it was okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the funny thing about physical exercise is that in one way, it seems like it would connect you more to your body, but in another way, you almost lift out of your body, right? Like you take off because you're like, okay, I can't deal with this right now, so I'm going to go somewhere else, and I'll check back in with you, body, in a little while. But I need the watch thing. Like, I need a couple miles under my belt before I check back in. So I think it's really cool, because I think that's important for folks, and I think particularly when we're physical beings and we're really focused on our fitness and that kind of thing, we sometimes forget that the most important thing is to be grounded and to be connected to your truest, highest self. And, I'm so happy to hear that, because I think it's for me, I like to go full hippie. So
that's what I love about you, Vanessa.
I'm like, let me get my patchouli out. But anyhow, thank you so much for sharing your story. We love you. We're proud of you. And just keep us posted on how we can help. And if folks want to get involved, like you said, labawlife.com, and stay in touch with us.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity. Love you guys.
Of course. Love you too, Jane.
We'll talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Has taken us far.